So, as I say, firstly, thank you guys for joining us this evening. Hopefully, we should be able to go through and answer a few different bits and pieces on our sort of headline topic, which is club management software. Does it work fundamentally? And as I've said already, and introduced you already, we have John, the CEO and creator of Teamo, also Sport Plan as well, the parent company of Teamo. We do have this session recorded. Please do, whilst we're going through the questions, keep your microphone turned off, just so that we can avoid any sort of background noise, anything else like that. You will have the opportunity as well to ask your own questions. The best way to do that is if you, as we're going along, type those into the chat bar. And once we've gone through the initial questions, I'll go through as many of those as I can. If we don't get time to cover your question, I will still put the question to John and we'll get the answer sent across to you guys via email. So we hopefully don't miss anything out. Without further ado, we'll get started. And firstly, obviously, as I've introduced you a couple of times, John, is there anything else you would like to sort of pass on about yourself that I haven't sort of mentioned in my very short introduction?
No, well, thank you, Ben, and thank you to all of you for giving up your evenings to join us. No, I think yeah, essentially, I've been building software for sports teams, sports coaches, and sports clubs for the last 25 years. So I'm hoping that I know a little bit about it. I obviously slightly biased opinion about what is the best software out there, but I'm hoping tonight to not be too biased for most of the evening and give you a fair opinion about what I think people should be looking for in software. And if Teamo is the right answer, then Teamo is the right answer. But if it's not, hopefully open your eyes to what you're looking for when you're shopping around. So yeah, I'm sure that more will come up through the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sort of the first question to sort of kick us off with, then, really, why would you say a club should look to use a club management software at all?
Well, I suppose clubs for years, I mean, obviously managed to run themselves without software, but ultimately people are busy. Time is precious, and volunteers' time is valuable and it should be valued. And I think the other thing these days is as committees and sports clubs want younger professionals to join their committees and be involved in the clubs. Younger people are used to being supported by the right software in their workplace. And ultimately, they want to come in and contribute to the club and not just take on an onerous task such as fixture management or finances. They want to be able to obviously take that task on and join that and become that part of the committee, but still have and not feel like it's a burden and still be able to contribute to the club in more ways and add to the club. And so I think being able to give everyone in the club, whether it's long-term volunteers or young people that you're trying to push. Well, when I say young people, I mean young professionals, the right processes and software to do things. The other key thing about using software is information in clubs often ends up being stuck in silos. The treasurer knows everything about finances. The membership manager knows everything about player registrations. But do the right people, does everyone get to share that information? And obviously, using software allows the right information to be shared with the right stakeholders, either all the time or with the right people at the right time. And I think that's a very key thing. And also that information can be kept up to date and in real time versus either printing or emailing lists on a weekly basis. So I think there's a few key reasons there about why, if you've got software, if you've got the opportunity to use software, you should.
Perfect. I mean, you sort of touched upon some of the areas really that something like this can cover. It's obviously quite a broad question, but from your perspective, what is it exactly that a club's software system should or indeed can do?
Well, I mean, software is software. It can do anything or everything. But I guess if you start looking at the key things that you have to do within club management, such as you've got everything. When we're looking at the club itself, you're looking at player registration and managing payments. Some people sort of see club websites as part of club management. That's obviously another big task. Um, but if we look at a few things that um, and then and then you sort of overlap into team management or event management. And obviously, you want people turning up to events who haven't paid their subs. So, do those things sort of talk to each other? When I explain the answer to this, so I'm sort of rambling off in a random direction. But So we look at the sort of key pillars of club management. I suppose number one would be member management, player registration, registration forms, emergency contact information, all the important stuff that you need to know about a member. And then if whether that's a junior member or an adult member, if there's an accident on your premises or whilst you're responsible for that person, you obviously need all the relevant information about them. Then you have finances, the collection of subs, the selection subs and membership fees, depending on what discipline you're in, you call them different things. And then obviously match fees or training fees or event entry fees. And then on the back of those, you then obviously have the insights. It's just as easy being able to collect these things, but you want reassurance that you're either going to get the money or you have got the money, or even predicting your cash flow next month based on what subscriptions have been registered this month. So obviously the reporting and insights that could go with finances. And then I guess my third key pillar, and I've got some more, but the sort of top three would be member management, finances, and communication. And then when we look at communication, we talk about whether that's sort of personal one-to-one communication. How do I find Joe Bloggs' details to get them a message, or am I trying to get a message to the whole club quickly? Yeah, am I communicating via email? Is it a push notification if we're using an app of some sort? How do they reply to me? Do they get my personal details? Do they not get my personal details? Is it kept within the environment of the club, or is it a sort of, that exposes people's personal details or not? Do you use internal chat functionality, or are you using WhatsApp? And then I suppose there's other things such as sort of club announcements or sort of advertising club events and things as well as a sort of a notice board type stuff. And I put all of that under communication. And so those are three massive things. And then you get sort of slightly more specialist stuff such as your team and event management. And so how are you sharing? How is a player receiving their schedules? I mean, I remember when I first started playing, a lovely little booklet got published at the beginning of every year, but that hasn't been done for years now. And then obviously, how do team captains and managers mark availability and attendance? So have you got sort of team selection and event management? Is that intertwined with the club management, or is it a separate process? And you can go on and on. And then again, are websites and social media functionality part of club management, or are they again a separate process? Have you got duplication of data there? Can you make things easier by them being all part of one piece of software? And then, so the sixth pillar, and I'm very happy for people to correct me if I've missed something, is fundraising and things like that. So whether that's selling tickets to social events, or whether that's selling merchandise or collecting donations or running club competitions and fundraising ideas such as lotteries and things like that. So actually, if you look across the whole breadth of what's on the marketplace, these are all the things that people are offering in some sort of shape or another. And I think so there's the big three, and then the sort of second three get more specialist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, as you've sort of gone through it there are a load of different bits and pieces that have been added to this, and clubs have sort of been looking to do more and more. I, I suppose as you've sort of gone through those things, there's obviously quite a lot there that could, as you said, sort of sound quite a lot to manage and a lot to go through. So, would you say that the software element does quite seamlessly bring all of those things in together generally?
Um, yes, I think so. I mean, what we tried to do when we built Teamo was we really looked at, we looked around the committee and we asked ourselves, how can we make, you've got the treasurer is really easy to define, membership manager, really easy to define, head of the junior section, quite easy to define. But you can sort of take their job list, which again is extensive, and go, how can we make their life easier? And I guess that's what we tried to do when we created Teamo. Maybe other people design software in other ways, but ultimately you come back to the same core of functionality. And then there's also, and the other way to look at it is then how does your member experience the club? Can software increase their feeling of community? How do they communicate with the committee? How does the committee communicate with them? And so on and so forth.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
But moving through really, obviously there's two main areas that I think a lot of people will think of when they think of software in general, and that is the time and money element of both. So I suppose attacking the time side, how would you say software can save time when it comes to managing a sports club?
Well, I mean, time is everything, and as I already said, volunteers' time should never be taken for granted. So, if you can save them time, so they can help. I mean, if you save a volunteer time, they're not going to do less volunteering. They're going to do, if they've got 4 hours a week, they're going to give you 4 hours a week. But if they can do two jobs in 4 hours a week rather than one, obviously, they're just going to get more out of everyone and more done. But ultimately, I mean, just take really simple, obvious things like if you've got a player registration. We've come a long way since handing out pieces of paper and the handwritten registration forms, and then having to do the data entry, and then obviously getting that into a database, and then sharing copies of a database. But at every point of that, even if you're doing, you could be doing online data entry going into a database that only one person can see. But then even then, there's a time-saving piece in sharing that data and having permission-based roles so that the right people can see the right data at the right time. And similarly with subs collection, I mean, there are still many clubs today who the treasurer's role is taking an evening a week out of their lives to cross-check the bank statement to see who has paid by backs and who hasn't, and then emailing whatever either the individual member or the team manager or the or the group leader of its juniors and things like that to say, please nudge X because they haven't paid me. When actually all of that process can be 100% automated, and obviously there's many other things you can be doing with your time. So yeah, I believe that software in all walks of life can save time.
Perfect. No, absolutely. And in terms of obviously the money elements as well, obviously a lot of people, as you sort of already alluded to, would have been doing this in their own time off their own back, not having to pay for it, if you like. What would you say, or where are those sort of elements that somebody can get a good value for money, in something like software, whereby it's obviously an additional cost potentially to some of these clubs?
Well, again, certainly with young people wanting young professionals to be involved in clubs, you've got to value their time. So if you take their time for granted, they're not that interested. So again, you need to remove onerous tasks and value the time of volunteers. So if you can actually get them using their time effectively by using software where it's available and giving them the right solution for the right task, then obviously that's an immediate benefit. Where it actually really saves time is if you're actually making more money as a club. So actually, what we often hear when we talk to clubs is actually money just falls through the cracks. It is, when you chase someone for 10 weeks, you just give up chasing them because it's just, hard work. Whereas, I mean, I've got a wonderful story. I think I think it was the chairman of Winchester Hockey Club, who's now the chairman of Winchester Sport as a group. And they've actually said they've not increased their subs for the last 4 years since joining Teamo because their compliance rate on membership collection is now so high that they're cash rich compared to where they were. And obviously prices for them have gone up. Like the costs of the club have gone up over the last 4 years, but they've got a surplus basically because they were having to charge so much extra because they were only collecting sort of 85% of subs prior to using Teamo. So yeah, the right software can really, pays for itself year one.
Perfect. And you sort of nicely led on to the next question I was going to ask, and you did sort of allude to it at the top as well, with which is obviously that there are lots of different options. There are different platforms and softwares that you can use to do a variety of different things. So for a club that's sort of looking to use something maybe for the first time, what would you sort of recommend they should look at or focus on when it comes to choosing a potential software provider?
Well, again, you want to try and look at how many different stakeholders are going to benefit from this piece of software. So you might look at a piece of software and go, boom, that's a perfect admin piece of software and it will do my job for me, or it will do, Jane's job for her, or it will do so and so for them. But then how does that help everyone else? Because you're asking the whole club to adopt a piece of software. And so actually the more stakeholders you can win over, because it saves you time and it saves you time and it saves you time. and you can see this piece of information, you can see that. So the word I look for is, whereas lots of solutions are specialist solutions, so they're either website solutions or they're admin solutions, what you're actually looking for is a fully integrated solution. So you can actually say yes to the website manager, your job is easier. You can say yes to the treasurer, your job is easier. You can say yes to the fixture secretary and the head of the men's section, your job is easier. You can say to the ladies section, your selection management is now easier. And all these tasks become easier if you choose the right piece of software. So if, for example, every team captain will adopt a piece of software if it makes their life easier. If it means they haven't got to carry around an extra piece of paper with the under 12s emergency contact details on it to the pitch side, because they know they've got it on their phone, because that when that team was picked, their phone was instantly synced with that information, so that if there was an accident, they've got the information. Right? That's just a whole thing that someone doesn't have to think about the night before a game or the hour before the game. And likewise, I mean, if you think about it as a treasurer, I mean, I used to do this, and I'm guilty of this. It's really awful. There's a time when the treasurer would email around on a Thursday evening to all the team captains, so and so hasn't paid his subs. And then you turn up on a Saturday and your captain says, Oi, you haven't paid your subs. Oh, yes, I did. I spoke to the treasurer yesterday. The captain doesn't know any the wiser, right? You've told him you paid your subs. The treasurer's told you 24 hours earlier that he hasn't, but you've got to trust the last bit of information you've seen. But if there was a way you could see real-time information as, is the treasurer happy with him? Tick box, red light, green light. You'd never have to have that conversation. That joker, whether you don't know if he's a joker, you just want to run the team. You don't want to have that conversation. You just want to make it easy. So it's all about, technology lets us do this. And if you get the right piece of tech, everyone's life becomes easier, more money is collected, and you get a really nice, smooth running machine. So yeah,
Perfect.
integration is what I would look for, and do the right parts talk to the right other bits for your organization.
So I suppose obviously coming to a bit more of a Teamo focused view on things then. Firstly, as I mentioned earlier, sort of mainly from your side, sort of the main creator of Teamo. What was it really that sort of motivated you? Obviously, you've mentioned a few different things, I suppose, as to what the platform actually does or can achieve. But what was it really that sort of drove you to get into this particular part of the software market?
Well, okay. Well, for those who don't know, Sport Plan has been around for sort of 24 years, which shows my age. And where, although we've jumped around from sports coaching to elite athlete logbooks to all sorts of things in school sport, the core of Sport Plan about 8 years ago was a coaching platform servicing 200,000 coaches and teachers around the world in schools. And the likes of the Teamers and the Pitch Heroes in the UK were basically paying me to advertise, to do email marketing on their behalf. And yes, I did take their money. I'm guilty of that. And I did do I did it for the first year. And then I was just like, this product's not very good. And I really believe we could do better. And certainly coming from a coaching angle and a team management angle, certainly, we wanted, where I was coaching hockey as well at the time. So actually, I want to run a squad, not a single team. So I want to be able to have 25 players on the screen, not just 12. And I want to know if they're available or if they're going to be at training before I plan my training, and so on and so forth. And what I saw out there wasn't available. Now, obviously, it took us a while to build the product, but we went straight in from the angle of sort of, can we build a product around player availability and team selection and communication that is better than what's out there? We launched something to the sport plan market as Teamo, but then very quickly we realized that if we were ever going to make it a commercial success, to win adoption across a club, it's not about a team manager. You need to talk to the committee, and their first point of call is data collection and finances. So it's a famous, I don't know, if anyone works in software, a big thing is to be brave enough to make the pivot. So we pivoted quickly to looking at all the tools that you need from the top down perspective rather than the bottom up. and we did a bit of that. But trying along the way, we hope we've not forgotten sort of the stakeholders at the bottom, because you still want, the what a lot of the software that's out there does is it's really great for the committee, but it gives nothing to the guys in the middle that are doing all the work, like the team captains and organisers, or the coaches, and even the end users, the dads, the mums, the parents, and the adults in the club. So it's really important that everyone gets looked after by a piece of software, not just the one person at the top gets the information where they want it.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask a question that I often get asked in my role, which I'll explain to some of you joining us here a little bit later. But what would you say sets Teamo apart from the other options that there might be out there?
Um, well, there's not one bit of software in Teamo that exists anywhere else, as in, so we haven't taken a website product and then built a club management product. We haven't built a generic event management system and then gone, oh, actually, there's more money in sport. We'll go and do that. If you sort of mean, we've actually listened to our customers. We've come from a sports angle. I mean, I wish I was working in finance and not in sport. The amount of technology and lines of code we've written over the years, my life would be very different. But I think we've really listened to our customers. We learn from them. I mean, I have regular catch-ups with the customer support team regularly. Like, go right, John. Here's a customer from a different discipline or someone that's used us for a while. Drop in on this customer. Cool. Find out what their issues are. Can we change things? Can we make things better? So I think we're a really listening company. We're completely. I mean, although a lot of these products look the same, because obviously, certainly on a mobile screen, you've only got so much space to get all the information on. But I think we have built a bespoke solution for sports administration. I mean, one of the examples I like to give, and I've sort of loosely touched on it, is you can suddenly, a treasurer can just tick a button on Teamo, and every attendance register and team sheet has a traffic light on it. And all that traffic light means is the treasurer is happy with this individual. This individual has a contract with the club for their subs. Now, if that individual's paid zero, team captain doesn't need to know. The point is that is live information. We have clubs that implement no pay, no play, no pay, no play rules because that information is live, and they can stop someone playing a game because they haven't paid their subs. So they get 100% subs collection, and things like that. And I mean, we do all sorts of funny things with being able to put 5 teams on side by side, like you're on a spreadsheet and doing team selection, things like that. But this is because we've listened to our customers and gone, what would make your life easier? And actually looked at the problem that people have. And I think that's why we're different. Is actually, yeah, we actually we really care about what we're doing.
So, one question that we have had through actually, and I will discuss this because I think we do have a couple of people who have joined us this evening who are representatives from cricket clubs, um, is around the Play Cricket integration that we have mentioned or advertised on our website. So, would you want to talk through a little bit as to what that does?
Yeah, we can talk about that. Teamo Sport Plan is a sort of official Play Cricket partner, and so once you opt in to be a Play Cricket partner, we're obliged to, if you want to pull data from the Play Cricket API via us, we are obliged to ask you to let your members opt in or out to cricket marketing data, to share their data with the ECB for marketing purposes. It's a simple sort of handshake thing. Members can just opt out of it, but we had to tick a box to say that we will get every member. You have to tick a box to say I'm happy that if I'm going to use the Play Cricket API calls to flood the app or your website with their information and sync it on a regular basis, that your members will get asked this question. So we have all that integrated. It's very simple and nicely branded. It's easily explained what you're doing. And then, yeah, so basically within sort of 2 clicks, you can sync your Play Cricket fixtures directly to Teamo. You obviously have your teams in Teamo, and you have your club ID with Play Cricket, and you just say, yeah, that team is that team, and they all sync up. And then basically, sort of either once a week or anytime a manager opens a fixture on Teamo, it just double checks, has the fixture details changed on Play Cricket, and then it pulls through the latest version of the details. And then once the game's in progress, it will pull through the scorecard and stuff like that. And if you've done the member registration sync with Play Cricket, which we supply as well, then on the scorecard, Play Cricket give us their unique IDs, and then we obviously can match those to unique IDs we've pulled from Play Cricket, and then we can directly populate player stats, etc. in Teamo. And therefore, yeah, if you have a website with us, as soon as we sync the results from Play Cricket, your website automatically updates, and the app immediately updates, etc., etc. So have I got that
Perfect.
right?
Yeah.
I've got that right.
Sounds good from my end. Another
Good.
couple of questions for you then. So I want to hear, what would your advice for clubs be if you've got committee members who are maybe a little bit resistant to change or resistant to moving on to a new software platform?
Um, I don't what change from a platform or change from
Well,
a
moving maybe from what might be considered the norm at the moment to how the club's being run and at this point in time to adopting something like Teamo or another alternative.
um I mean just look after your members and look after yourselves and celebrate. Software is not scary, and I really think that there's not been one club. I mean, quite often we go to clubs and we often meet with a junior section manager because they tend to be quite autonomous in what they're doing. And if they've got to run a junior section of 100 and 200 members, 300 members, 500, 2,000 members in one case, they want the software to do it. Whereas the senior committee may put their foot down, going, no, we need to have 5 committee meetings to vote about this, which is absolutely fine. The junior member will just move, and then the senior club will see, oh, the juniors are being run very efficiently now. Should we just copy them? And so, obviously, you can't strong arm someone to moving. It's more of find the positive in what you're doing. Give people their lives back, share information, have a progression plan, because ultimately, if someone's currently treasurer, they're going to be treasurer forever because no one can share that information. Whereas once it's here, then if someone moves on from a role, that role doesn't live with them. That role lives in the cloud, and you can just take that role on and move forward.
And in terms of, I suppose, like almost like a part B to that question, do you have any sort of advice or even bits that you've picked up over the seasons with helping getting the members themselves to actually sort of adopt and pick something like this up as well?
I mean, obviously, I mean, sports um, has a season, so obviously doing the right comms pre-season and making it part of the pre-season onboarding process is obviously um, the fastest way to get uptake. And yeah, you basically just have to get on and do it. I mean, where we do things, obviously, Teamo is based around an app, but you can still interact with it if you don't use a modern smartphone. You can still register via a website, and if you don't have a smartphone, you'll get notifications via email. You will not feel as much part of the community, but you won't miss out. And I think, and certainly, yeah, if events are then published to a website, you still have all the information you need if members aren't using smartphones. And people often worry about senior members or alumni members getting left out by not having everything published in the right way. But actually, yeah, I think all the answers are there. I mean, we have so many clubs and so many different stories of how people use software. So it's wonderful. I could go on forever. Yeah.
No, of course. Just before I ask this sort of last question I've got here, if there are any final questions that you guys have, please do type them into the chat as soon as you can. I'm happy to sort of answer as many as possible. So yeah, just another sort of prompt and opportunity for you to send those in if you had any. But yeah, the sort of last one I've got here. If a club wanted to say, "Yep, cool, this is something we want to do, we want to start up, we want to get going," what would your advice be to them in terms of making that first step, or indeed going through the initial onboarding phase generally?
With Teamo, well, I mean, obviously, Teamo, you can create an account tomorrow if you're quite, if you fancy yourself as being computer literate, you can create an account tomorrow, or you can follow the book a demo link. And Ben here is our business development manager, and if you're lucky enough, you'll get him or one of the others that is a full-time Zoom demo onboarding guru who will talk you through it. And anything that I haven't been able to answer today, they're there to do that. And yeah, obviously onboarding is a key thing. And yeah, I'm sure after this meeting, uh, you'll all get Ben's contact details. So if you need further follow-up and demos, Ben will be able to help you with that.
Perfect. Yeah, you've taken some of the words out of my mouth there, really. So, there's a question here about the pricing for
Yeah.
Teemo specifically. So what does that look like? And what would be the case in terms of again, this is sort of coming from a cricket point of view, the sort of potential issues and things around sort of in season, off season with the cost element of that as well.
So Teemo is, let's say, if your club is 200 members, Teemo works out at £20 a month. And we work with two different, which if you have a website with us, is out of season, you can freeze your membership and reduce it to £9.99 a month, which is our lower tier of clubs up to 99 members. Out of season, however, if you have a website that obviously runs all year round, you'd still be paying the minimum threshold is the £20 a month. I've got that right. Was it 21? I can't remember now.
Yeah, 21.99. Yeah.
21.99 is the middle tier. Okay, so sorry. So it's 21.99. I'm just guessing that as an average cricket club is sort of circa 200 members. So it's 21.99 a month. And then on processing fees, with all transaction processing, some organizations sort of wrap it up into sort of a hidden fee where you'll ring them up and they won't advertise their fees. And then you'll tell them you're 200 members, so you'll end up paying 4%. Whereas if you told them you were 500 members, you'd pay 2.5%. And they pretend to giving you a specific quote, but actually they're just marking it up if you're smaller and giving you the same price if you're bigger. I won't name names, but I don't believe in doing that. So we have a flat rate cost that we try to keep as low as possible. So we charge 1% over and above the payment gateway, and we offer two payment gateways. We offer Go Cardless for direct debit, which is they have which is 1% plus 20p of your transaction. So you'd be paying a total of 2% plus 20p per transaction. Or you can use Stripe that does direct debits. Stripe that does credit cards, card payments, or Go Cardless that does direct debits. And Stripe charge 1.5% plus 20p. So if you had a combined rate with Stripe and Teamo, you'd be paying 2.5% and 20p. And as far as software goes, the software and support through Stripe is much better than the software and support with direct debit. You also get a very weird payment cycle with direct debit because you have the money sort of charged on you have to wait 7 days for the payment to be processed, which is sort of fine for subs payments and things like that, but it's slightly odd if you're paying for an individual match fee. Saying that, on the payment side of things, while we're on there, Teamo has a functionality we call auto pay. Now, with all these payment gateways, the 20p's really add up. We had a running club the other year that was suddenly charged on a turnover of £10,000, they paid £750 just in 20p transaction fees because they were charging £2.50 for training. And obviously they shout at us going, why didn't you tell us? Well, obviously we didn't take the money, the payment gateway did. But so in the last year, we've developed a system we call autopay, which is basically like the same as when you're paying your phone bill, you get a bill at the end of the month with any extras on it. And so what we do is we offer clubs the ability to opt their members into this thing called autopay. And we then take all their payments for the month, whether they're subs payments or event attendance fees or match fees, and we package them into a monthly bill. And so therefore, whether it's £10 or £100, you pay a single transaction fee per member versus however many fees they might have had during the month. So it completely reduces the number of 20p's you pay. And it's a free service and it works really nicely. So on the first of the month, every member gets a notification saying your statement is ready. And then there's they can log in and check their statement. I mean, and then they have 5 days to review their statement and say, oi, I'm a junior, why have you charged me an adult match fee? And there's a dispute process where they can start a discussion with the treasurer, and the treasurer can just sort of go, oh, yes, change that concession rate, boom, boom, boom. And then when it's resolved, or on the 5th of the month, all the money's processed. And that massively reduced. Obviously, you still pay 20p per transaction per member, but you're not paying 20p per payment per member. So it's a huge saving. And it's great for sort of cash flow management. And it's been really popular since we launched that. And so we do our best to keep the payment fees as low as possible.
Excellent, excellent. So we have had another question as well. So um, with this one, so the question is with the context of being based around a sailing club.
Yep.
So the general question is, what is the policy in regards to developing new features? From what the person asking the question has said is that it sounds like the product is obviously been built and is comprehensive around team sports. But from their experience as a sailing club, they're finding that features like booking specific resources, like hiring boats as an example, aren't available in the software solutions that they currently use. So I'm guessing what the question is sort of hinting at is A, whether that's possible in the platform, and B, obviously if they were to use the platform, is it something or is there a mechanism to make suggestions?
Well, like I said, I mean, all our best features have come from customer feedback. And so, one, I mean, if we can find, it tends to be with all these things, by listening to customers, sometimes it's a tiny tweak. If it's a huge tweak, we'll just say, really sorry, it's not going to happen this year. But I mean, we have clubs, we have dance clubs, we have gymnastics clubs, we have triathlon clubs. We've got an ice skating club. We have clubs from all sorts of disciplines. I can't tell you off the top of my head if we have any sailing clubs. I mean, I'd have to check, but it's certainly something. I mean, I love sailing, although since having children, I don't get out to do it as much as often as I want to, and so it's certainly something that I'd love to learn more about the requirements and see what we can offer. So very happy
Absolutely.
about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Perfect. What we will do following this call is get an email out to all of you who have attended this evening. We'll share a link of the recording, any of the questions as well. We might, because we might think of some things, or John may even say to me tomorrow morning he's thought of something that he wanted to add to a certain question that we might be able to send across in that email as well. So we'll get all of that across. As John already said, if you are interested in Teamo in particular, obviously you will have my contact details as part of the email that I send. And if you are interested in booking time in to go through the platform in more detail, ask more questions that might be a little bit more specific to your club, as we've had a couple of examples of this evening, but we can go into much more detail on that, then please do get in contact. I'll be more than happy to go through and give you as much information as we can, really. So yeah, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much to John for joining us, answering these questions. Thank you very much to all of you guys for joining us as well, and hopefully we'll be speaking with you all soon.